Alrighty. Can you see us? Are you on here? Is there any viewers that are here yet? Okay. All right, I'm going to send a link in our person here. Viewers that are here yet? All right. Can you see us? Are you watching? All right. Let's make sure we can get all of our presenters on here. All right. All right, let's grab our presenter. Hey guys, we got viewers. Hey, is the sound okay? Can you hear us? Give us some applause or post up in the chat. Let's see. Okay. All right, guys, so if you're following along, we do have a Twitter for today, SM for Higher Ed. Feel free to tweet questions in. We will make sure that we get them all answered. Welcome, everybody. Let's see what we got. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Let's see if we can grab Greg. Okay. Nope. Okay. No Greg. All right. Let's see what's going on. Let's see. Okay. No worries, guys. We got this. Oh. It's not letting me pull in Greg. Okay. Invite people. Okay. All righty. Let's see. All righty. Sorry, guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties this morning. Let's see if this is working. Ah, Greg is here.
Okay.
All right, guys. Awesome. It's working. The technology will not defeat us today. All right, guys. So my name is Cassandra Serino. I'm at the University of South Florida, and I'm super excited to be your host for this webinar today on building community and engagement with Facebook. We have the master of all Facebook things here with us today, Gregory Bowers, who is at USF, and he works in housing, and he's done some really amazing things here with our Facebook groups and building community and engagement, and I'm super excited for you guys to get to meet him and hear about everything that he has to say. If you have any questions, we do have the chat up, so if it's not letting you, let me know. We do also have the hashtag. Feel free to tweet us at that. Follow us on there, share this. We've got a bunch of viewers on here, so awesome, super excited to have you guys. And I'm gonna let Greg introduce himself because he is awesome and he knows his bio way better than I do. He's super accomplished, so take it away, Greg.
Okay, well, everyone, thank you for joining, and thank you so much for having me here today. It's an honor and a pleasure to be speaking with everyone. So to tell you a little bit about where I came from with this work. So I'm a higher ed guy, student affairs specifically, and so I came up through that. I do have a bachelor's in marketing, but have the Master of Education, Curriculum Instruction, College Student Affairs, and so I've taken a different route from perhaps some other folks that are working with social media marketing, in that I was a hall director, and so that was my start in the professional world in higher ed, and then this opportunity came along here at USF, and have since put all my focus into social media because my responsibility is marketing, and that overall goal for me has been fill the beds every year, make sure we are at 100% or over occupancy. And so that was the initial driver for finding new ways to harness the power of social media, because of course, what can we do for $0 is a very popular theme that permeates all of higher education. And so my background with social media is not extensive as the undergrad because I'm 33, and so social media was becoming a thing when I was in college, actually. And much of it comes, much of my expertise has been developed since starting in this role about 4 years back. But the focus of the items to talk about today are our Facebook group approach and a model that I've developed called the cross-functional social media model. And what that is a new approach to using social media to achieve multiple goals, but with the same channels. And so in higher ed, there are so many different players at the table, and many people are saying, well, I want this for engagement. I want this for students going to my events. I want this to help them sign up for housing, to know what they need to do, or trying to help them connect with each other. And so the cross-functional model is basically taking Facebook groups as the central online town square, as I call it, and saying in that space, we can do all things. And so we can bring in experts from around campus and actually develop what is a personal relationship to the student, but in a format that's actually much more mass communication. And so the two work together quite well. And so I'm excited to get into that a little bit today. And then the other big piece is we grew out of our Facebook group a new approach to doing web chats, which we call USF Housing Live. And I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Awesome, Greg. Awesome. Yeah. So tell us more. How did this come to pass?
All right. So how did we get here? As I mentioned, it was really what can we do on a budget, and so what solutions are available. And so I saw that there are groups and pages essentially in Facebook, and so there are two approaches. And so what we found is in my first year there was the USF Class of 2016 group. And I discovered this group through our student staff, and they showed me that it was just natural, it was organic. Students would find their class group, and we discovered that pretty much every school has a class group. But most of those groups are run by bars and promoters. Most of them are not run by the schools. Many of them will actually use the graphic packages for the school to make them look like the school. There are a few particular individuals actually that many of us know and have encountered who run these groups. And I said, well, if bars and promoters are using these all over the country, there must be value there, right? And I said, I want that cover photo. I want to be able to have the administrative control. And that's where it started, with having a group and a page. And we saw that students really didn't go for the page concept because it's just information dissemination. It's very one way. Right. But when we go with the group approach, that's very two-way. That's communicative with the student. And so that took off. So after about a month, we shut down the page approach and we went full on with the group approach. And the first year that we actually created the group from the very beginning, that was the USF Class of 2017. And so now we're with, of course, USF Class of 2020 in the current cycle, which will round out 4 years of this. And just something that's important to note is that we have seen engagement of 90% of all students in each class join their group. And so that's not 9 out of 10 Facebook users, but that's 9 out of 10 students in the class. And so we have them all in one place. And then it's just a matter of forming your message and building the connection there. And so actually, I'm getting excited to do a little screenshot here. Can I throw one of these up real quick?
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay, where's my little side window? There we go. And where is it? Right here. So I'm going to share this with everyone. You can see that this is our structure. And so the other piece of being cross-functional is how can we use one thing for two purposes? And what you're looking at on the left, you'll see is our website. And so we have pages for all of our residence halls. And we have a main Facebook account, which is in the top right. And that's kind of the host place for everything Facebook for the department. But that dotted line shows that we are also managing these class of groups. And we also have subgroups for every residential area where students can interact with each other and with professional staff and the RA staff. And then from those groups, they're pointed over to our Facebook pages. And the Facebook pages are interesting because, as you can see, the website points at them because they help promote living in that residence hall and showing what's actually going on. But they also inform the current residential population in that area. And so they serve two purposes. I've seen some schools take the approach of all promotional, some try to make it all current resident, but this type of approach actually serves both quite well, and so you're killing two birds with one stone. So let me go back here. I'm going to undo that screen share. Sorry, I don't have a lot of experience with doing Hangouts, unfortunately. So I don't know how to.
There's always a new technology out there, right?
Exactly.
There's always something going on.
Well, it's not letting me stop the screen share. Maybe we can try over here. Oh, there we go. I'm back. Okay. And so to go a little bit further into how we're using these channels, I'll pop the other image up here. Let's find it. And so here's the other piece. And so these are the channels we're using right now. And so you can get a peek at. So Facebook, as I've mentioned, dissemination, communication through our groups and pages, that's our powerhouse. Twitter, we promote through our orientation times, urgent messaging. YouTube, everyone's all over YouTube. And of course, that's our big one for Housing Live. We're using Pinterest, Instagram very big right now. And actually, as many of you know, Snapchat is really, it's taken over. Snapchat is bigger on mobile devices than it is on Twitter with our resident population, with our student population in that age group. So, but what's interesting about how we're using Snapchat is we push engagement by saying, send us your snaps and we'll pick our favorites, and we call something called snaps in the day. And we put the snaps of the day back into the Facebook group with the students. And so they will send us stuff just to get featured as a snap of the day.
Wow.
And so that's kind of fun for them, but it also helps to promote living on campus, promote the university. And so it's more on the fun social side. But again, it's those pieces that help build the connection. And so the magic balance is the thing that I share with everyone when I train on this. And that is that the majority of our content that we post in the groups has to be informational and educational. Mm-hmm. But that majority is just 51%. Wow. And that is because you need to, or at least for us, we've learned that we need to be fun and engaging, and we need to be humans to the students. And if we're not that, they will ignore the content. And so I have some colleagues that just post advertisements every now and then. It gets no likes, it gets no engagement, and they'll come to me actually and ask me to post on their behalf, which I don't do because I'm the housing guy. And so I will train them on it, and we've had a number of folks take us up on that offer. Mm-hmm. But what we find is that it's the pill in the applesauce approach. And so if you give them fun content, look at the kitty, check out this funny article, something from BuzzFeed, students will engage with that. It'll be fun for them. And then when you share something that's on the serious side, informational and educational, they're much more receptive to engage with you.
That's awesome. Like and I feel like that's definitely something that for marketers, it's different. It's difficult to kind of step out of that role of sell, get the information out there, when really internet culture doesn't do so well with that, right? Students really don't want to be marketed. And if you think about it, we as people don't really want to either, right? We hide advertisements, we do those sorts of things. So that's really awesome that you're able to do this. Now, what would you say to the people that say, well, our students aren't on Facebook, right? They don't use Facebook, they're on something else. Why are we going to put the time and effort into building out these groups?
Yeah, that's great. And that is a concern that we've had and we've seen numbers of, Facebook could be somewhat on decline. Well, 1 in 6 people on the planet still have a Facebook account. So it is going strong. However, that is a very real concern, and there might be some campuses where there is no Facebook engagement from the incoming class, and that could be a challenge to work with. But this is something that we have seen over the past 2 years more significantly, and that is, I don't have a Facebook account. And so the response to that has worked quite well for us. And what we do is we focus on, we're talking to 17, 18, 19-year-old students who want to get connected on campus. Mm-hmm. And so what things are they willing to do to be connected? And we find that students are happy to sign up for Facebook just to get into the group because that's where the action is, that's where their peers are, and that's where they're going to get good information. And so we actually push it that way. We say, if you don't have a Facebook account, create one and join the group. And we see that continue. And so we've been able to maintain high numbers. We're actually 100 ahead of where we were this time last year. We were just looking at our numbers this morning.
Wow.
And so we're right on the line with where we need to be. And so we've seen no decline in the engagement, but we have seen an uptick in the number of students reporting that I don't use Facebook, I don't care for Facebook. But we tell them, everyone at USF uses Facebook. If you want to be connected at USF, you need to be there. And so that's all it takes, is just being upfront with them and saying, there are all these great pages out there from the different departments, the student organizations, and if you want to be a part of this culture fully, then you want to be on Facebook. And so they'll create the Facebook account and they'll dive right in. Because that's one thing that's so important to incoming freshmen, is saying, how can I be involved and how can I get connected and where can I be supported? And so we answer those questions with our Facebook groups by engaging them there. And so we make sure to promote that. So we do that through orientation. We have a link on the next steps page with admissions when it's things for freshmen to do when they're admitted. And there's a link to their 2020 group. We also host it on our housing homepage. And so we have a number of ways. We also email out to incoming residents. And so it is out there. And so we also make sure that students understand, just because I'm the admin, it doesn't mean it's all about housing. But we do joke around because we do advertise in there for living on campus. And so this is something that's actually kind of funny. I call it shameless plug, and we have the shameless plug hashtag that we'll use in the group. And I actually got pulled into a meeting with a colleague back in 2013 and got quite a dressing down for the, they said it was very unprofessional for me to use this term shameless plug, and it was a whole to do. And then a year later, that same individual was asking to join the group and be involved. And so it was quite a turnaround, because it is a shocker for a number of administrators still to see a staff member take an approach that is more informal, that's a little more me and you, and that I am a person and you can get to know me, you can connect with someone. And oftentimes professionals are afraid of that. And I try to remind my colleagues that the students are much more dangerous in person than they are online, if you're really afraid of interacting with students. And so don't be afraid to interact with them online. And so that shameless plug was a really fun one, because that was a shocker. They said, I can't believe we're saying something like shameless plug. That's so silly. And they were really put off by that. But we found that the students liked it, because we were owning that we're advertising to you, and we're doing it in a tongue-in-cheek manner. And that's been received very well over the years.
That's awesome, Greg. That's great. So are you finding then that students, this is really helping in their engagement and community building then, right? This is where their friends are. This is where they can get help from staff members. And I think so many times in higher ed, that's one of the biggest things, right? How can we get students to come to us when they need help? And so for them to be able to do that online in a platform that can go right to their phone, why wouldn't everybody want to be doing this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the new thing also, now that live events are a thing in Facebook, what I'm really loving is we're doing live streaming now within the group. So you can go into the group, create a live stream. The only audience that's going to see it are those in the group, but they're all going to get the notification, if they've got their notifications on, that that person is live in the group. And so we have done that to do an amateur tour of different spaces in our residence halls, and just to answer questions. And we get hundreds, and then we see hundreds more that are watching it after we've gone live. And we even use it now to promote into USF Housing Live in the Facebook group. We have the formal YouTube show. And so that's another element where we're developing that connection, and they get to know us. And so something that actually happened by accident that I think is a good indicator of positive engagement is that the first year we did this, with 2017, when the students got here, they would hunt me down on campus. And so I was surprised, because I'm thinking, how do they know what I look like? I mean, I didn't post pictures of myself or anything at that time. And these students know my name and they know who I am. And so I have a few hundred photos in my collection of what we call Greg stalking, where the students like to photograph me or come right up to me and say hello. And I've had someone want to come get a hug, have me sign or autograph like things and sign their shirts and all kinds of random things like that. And it created this pseudo-celebrity status with that class, which is not what our focus was, and still not our focus. But what I took from that was students take the online interaction very seriously. And if they interact with us online in this group setting, they are 100% comfortable to walk right up to you when they see you on campus. And think about the value that has for an RLC running a building, for someone over in student activities, even for someone in Center for Victim Advocacy. So all the different areas, counseling centers involved with our group as well. And so if we have that connection developed in the group and the students then so comfortable to approach, well, that's great, because I'm sure many of us are seeing that we feel students might be disconnected. They're always looking down at their phone. And my answer to that to my colleagues was, well, I'm in their phone. You should be there too. And when we get into their phone with them, they are totally happy to have the actual interpersonal interaction. And so that was something that was a surprise to us, but we saw it as very powerful, that those who are engaged in the group can also have that one-on-one connection with the student in real life on the campus.
That's amazing. I don't think people really understand the power of how that could be, to actually connect with students, and so they see you as people, right? Not just a staff member or an RA, but really someone who's there to solve their problems and help them with whatever they've got going on. You mentioned that you have these other offices in your groups. How does that work? Do you have them answering questions? Are they moderators? How does that process look like?
Sure. So the ongoing message is always view the pinned post. And so one of the things I saw early on was there's this feature called a pinned post, which is where you take one of the posts in the group and you can stick it to the top of the group. Now, on our campus, 3 out of 4 students are using Facebook through mobile. And so they don't actually see the post itself. They see a little button that says view pinned post. But what we do is we just continue to queue them. That's the place to go to get updates. And in that pinned post is where we provide the rules for the group. A little introduction from myself, what the purpose of the group is, and then we have our expert list. And the way that works is if we have a professional staff member, or if a professional staff member has anointed a student to be responsible for the message of that area, we'll actually list them and what their functional area is. And so we have like a new student connections area, and they're very impactful for helping students with the transition to college. And so there's a new student connections expert. So if someone has a question, they can tag them. We have housing experts, orientation, dining, academic advising, academic policies, and the list goes on. And so students can look at that and say, well, that's something I want to know about. And they'll either send them a direct message or they'll tag them in a post. And we encourage them to tag them in a post so that everyone can learn the answers together. The other thing that happens by doing it this way is by being patient and answering the same question 100 times the same way, students will learn the right answer, and then students will provide the correct information to each other. And so then there's that peer help that comes. And I love free labor. We all love free labor. And so the students have fun with that because they're helping one another, of course. And I'm happy with that because they're further supporting good information getting out to those who need it. And so it is, I would say, a very positive, supportive cycle.
Wow. And I think that's something that's probably an unintended consequence too, is that they really do become a community, right? They look out for each other, they answer each other's questions. And like you said, sometimes students, oh, I asked my friend this and it's the completely wrong answer. But if you've gotten them to have the correct answer the first time, that probably makes you guys' job going down the line a lot easier.
Absolutely, yeah, because we're going to be right around 3,000 group members when we open in August 18th. So that's a lot of people. And so by that time, there are going to be those students who are in early. So right now we're in the 1800s. And so we have a pretty healthy base of folks that have been getting this information repeatedly. And they even joke about seeing the same question over and over again. And we try to keep them calm, just remind them, be patient and be supportive. And that works out well. Because this is, again, the online town square for them. This is their online home. And so they do take that very seriously. That is their place. But there are some rules I should probably mention that are helpful for anyone looking at doing this.
Yeah,
and so our first rule is no non-USF promotion of any kind. And so what that means is if you work, because there are a lot of students who are promoters, they have student representatives or student agents for different companies. And so they can't use the group for that. They can't say, I've got tickets for this thing, sign up for Yik Yak because I'm the Yik Yak person. They can't do any of that. But what they can do is if they're in a student organization, they can post about their events, join in their meetings. They can discuss pretty much anything except for politics. And so it's our other rules that there's no political discussion. We had an interesting experience with creating a political discussion group for them, which took it away from our main groups. And then that got to a point where we weren't able to support it as much as we needed to, and so we cut that out. But students are very supportive on our campus of actually not discussing politics in the group. They report anyone who violates the rule, and we just delete those posts and warn the poster. But that's a good one to think about, especially for anyone starting now, because we're in an election cycle, and everyone has an opinion, and everyone wants to share that opinion. And so students are supportive, though, to keep the group more about USF. But they could discuss anything they want as long as they don't go into politics. The other rules are no abuse and no trolling. And so that trolling can be a challenge because sometimes it could be on the line. And so that comes with experience, honestly, of just understanding how your students communicate. But for us, we make sure that no one is being abusive to anyone, and we'll warn them if they're acting out in that manner, calling someone out. And so those are the main rules of the group. And those were set actually with 2017 by spending the entire summer with no rules and feeling out where the boundaries needed to be. And we also involve the students in that. And so students, we do polling to ask them about, should we change this rule this way? And so they have buy-in on it. So though I'm the administrator, it remains their community, and I'm really just a steward of their space.
That's awesome. That's really, really great way of looking at it, because it is, honestly, we are here for them, right? We want them to engage with each other and learn how to, have civil discourse and, ask questions and connect with their peers as well as their staff. So it's probably less that you are running the group and more that you are managing kind of how the group is, and they really run the group with their engagement.
Yep.
They're kind of driving that. So we have some questions from a couple people here about how you cater to the group. Do you post on weekends? How do you get the students to participate?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question.
Sauce?
Yes, and so when this began, it was just a little old me, and it was it still is. It is something that I consider a 7 days a week, 7-month initiative. And so when we are in this, as far as a recruitment cycle for living on campus and preparing those students, that's the type of involvement that we have. Now at this point, now that we've grown, because every year we've done this, we've added a new class to help manage and support. And so right now I'm actually trying to move 2016 to a new space, because that would be 5, and that's too many for us. And so what I would do is provide engagement throughout the day. We're trying to have almost 20 hours of someone is available to answer a question. So I have a 2-student social media team, and that team actually spends a lot of their time, right now they're over there vetting. And so they review accounts to make sure they're USF students before letting them into the group. So that takes up a lot of time, and that's done during the daytime, Monday through Friday. They also have, I think they each have 1 hour. Is it 1 hour? Yeah. 1 hour outside. And so you'll get to meet them in a moment here. But they have 1 hour outside of the office where they're just checking in. So they'll just pop on Facebook for a couple minutes here or there throughout the weekend or at night during the week. And so they can answer a question real quick or share some information. And so that has this omnipresence about it, that we're always available. We remind students that most of their questions are general. We never engage them with personal account information. And so FERPA is very important. Be aware of FERPA, and we don't want to cross that line. And so we do find that most questions are general, and so we don't have to look at specific information from their account or anything on Banner or Oasis, anything like that. And so that is the approach, though. And so as far as when we're engaging, there are certain times that are better than others. My magic period to get information out is actually Sunday evening. Sunday evening remains the strongest time to connect with them via social media, because that's when everyone's back from their weekend activities. They're normally in their room, be it on campus or off, but they're normally getting ready for the week, and everyone's kind of getting ready to watch TV that night, and they're kind of on social media while they're watching TV, and that's our number one. And that's actually why we program USF Housing Live at 7 o'clock on Sundays, because it's before primetime TV, and it's on a day where we know they're most likely going to be available. And so that's our magic time. The weakest time, I'm sure many of us know, Friday night is pretty much a dead zone. Saturday can be weak, but there are students that have different schedules. And so I pop in there 7 days a week, day and night. And so the big plus here is international students. I've had international students that connect with me, and some of them actually keep me in the loop while they're traveling. And they're like, I'm at this airport now, I just want to say hello, I'm on my way. It's exciting for them. And think about how much that matters. They've never met me before, but they know me in the group, but they're talking to me and they're talking to others that there's someone there who cares about them, who knows where they are as they make their journey to the United States. And that is something that probably doesn't exist on most campuses, where they're getting that level of connection before they arrive. And so they actually sometimes are like, okay, I'm here on campus, where do I go? They can rely on this group to be the place to help them. There's so much information out there on the website, but students would rather use social media. And so we're there to help them in social media. Rather than try to force them to explore everything on the website, we try to send them the link and give them the information as they ask for it. I hope that helps answer the question.
That's perfect. I think sometimes that's a really great way of thinking about it, is as long as your message gets out there, you can be platform agnostic, right? If they want the information on their toaster, provide the information on their toaster.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Meeting them where they are and listening to them when they tell you this is where they are, right? This is how they want to engage their information. Kind of as a follow-up question to that, about how you connect with limited English speakers or English language learners. USF has a pretty diverse campus, so how do you find, do you see engagement from those students? Are they still feeling supported?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something that we've, and that actually goes down the path of thinking about accessibility as well. So international students, those who their English skills are not what you would experience with a domestic student, and so how are we engaging them, and also how are we engaging students with disabilities? And so that's something that is always at the forefront because inclusion is the name of the game. And so in a Facebook group environment, you are reading something and it's not a real-time interaction as far as speaking with someone. And so the only thing that we've really had to focus on is trying to avoid colloquialism and idioms in our language so that it makes sense to someone who is not from this country. And so that is a focus when we're communicating to make sure we're not using the common tongue here in the States where they don't know what that reference is. And so like, we're not going to say it's raining cats and dogs because that could be very frightening to someone who doesn't know what we're saying. And so especially if they're naive, right? Who knows, right? But that's just my silly example for us, just making sure that our language is clear and can cross cultural barriers as well. And we're always reviewing it. Something that we do on this team often, especially as I age, is we do mini case studies. And so if we have an interaction that doesn't go so well with a student, we will review it with the students that day or the next day to say, this didn't go very swimmingly. How can we improve this moving forward? And so a commitment also to understand, I think it was Einstein who said, true knowledge is knowing you know nothing. And so I accept that I know nothing and can always learn more. And so by reviewing our interactions to improve upon them day over day, that helps to strengthen us. And of course, understanding whatever's new in Urban Dictionary from time to time. Sadly, I must refer to it to know what my own students are talking about.
That's awesome, though. You mentioned you have student interns. How did you choose them? A little bit of quick blurb about their training.
Sure. So yeah, it started out just with a graphic designer and a web designer. And so when I got here, we started to build a team. It's now a 7-person team. And so I have 2 graphic designers. One of those also serves as a web designer. I have 2 social media assistants. I have a PR assistant who focuses on tours. And so social media and tours are the 3 public relations assistants, but 2 social media, 1 focusing on tours and VIP guests. And then we have 2 multimedia production assistants. And one of those focuses much more on video shooting and editing, and the other does more of the graphic development and animation, because we actually have launched cartoons this year. And so we're having student-produced cartoons in our mix for advertising some of our events, things happening on campus. And so actually, should I turn it around and show you the students?
Sure, yeah, let's see them.
Are you ready, students? I'm going to put you on the spot. And so maybe I should just turn this. Okay, so bear with me here. We're using my laptop. And so here we go, everybody. So let's flip that around.
I think we're good. I think we froze, Greg. Did we bump a cord? Greg? I think you froze there for a second. Yep, looks like you're still frozen. We'll bring you back as soon as looks like you're hanging out there. I think we might have bumped a cable and lost Greg. Greg?
Okay, I'm back now.
There you go. There we are. Now
okay, so when you turn the laptop, that might come unplugged. So let's hold that a little firmer. Okay,
no worries.
This time I'm feeling better about it. Okay.
Okay.
There we go. I'm coming around here. So here is our studio, which is where we are. We don't film our show in here, but this is where we get all the work done. And so can we see Jack on there? There's Jack. So Jack Dickens, one of our graphic designers, working on a piece over there. And so, of course, I'm an Apple nut, so we're using all Apple products as we can. There's Jill Johnson, social media. I want to wave. Kevin Mahoney on social media. I know they're probably silhouetted because of our lights here. There's Nikolina Kasanovich over there. Whoop. And then Sierra Rose, one of our video people.
That's awesome, Greg. That's
good. So I'm probably not going to play too much more with moving my laptop around. Grab that real quick.
No worries.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we're actually looking at is Can everyone see me okay? Sorry, I think I lost it.
Me? Whoop. Did we get, there you are. I think you're back.
You can see me okay?
Let's see. You're grayed out.
I'm grayed out. Why am I grayed out?
No, I want you to be able to be seen. Interesting. Okay. Let me see if I can switch it back to me. Are we still seeing me? I think I'm on there. Okay. And then if we go back, present to everyone. All right. I think you're in there. I think you're a little bit dark now. If you maybe adjust your webcam or lean back, you're just a little bit dark. Let's see. Whoop. Yep, I can see you, just very, very dark. Darn the technology. Let's see. Show and broadcast. Yeah. Okay. I think we're working. Yeah, I can see you now. So this is good. Little slow, little laggy.
Can you hear me now?
Now we got you back. Okay.
Sorry.
No.
So whenever I turn the laptop here,
right?
it's not good. So, okay. Sorry, we couldn't get external cameras working with Google Hangouts, so we're just on the laptop. You can see and hear me okay?
You got it. We're back now. This is good. So you were talking about Housing Live. What is Housing Live?
All right. So USF Housing Live, and actually I'll do a quick screen share here. USF Housing Live is our approach to doing a web chat with students. And so we began exploring this in 2014 because we saw there were a number of universities out there that were starting to engage, many of them actually using Google Hangouts. And so we took a little look at it and found that they're doing web chats with students. But what we found across the board was everyone was pretty much doing the laptop in the library or in the residence hall room. And so that was good, and they were having lots of great engagement there. But I thought, is there something more we can do to have it have a little more production value and have a little bit of entertainment tied in with it and make it more like a television program? And so this program came my way called Wirecast, which I took a peek at. And this Wirecast program had one little feature, which a light bulb went off in my head. It was it was right at the beginning of March 2014. And it allows you to have videos loaded, but also have live feed options. And you can switch between the two. And that's all I needed to be able to develop a program with commercial breaks, just like television. And so with USF Housing Live, it's a 1-hour live stream event where we schedule it just like television, meaning we have 7-minute sections where we have a guest on who's answering questions, and then we take a break and we show commercials. But those commercials are essentially videos about the university or videos to help students prepare for different things. And we invite different partners in, and my production team will go out. We're doing one with Student Health Services next week, and they're going to come on the show, but we'll do a little video to show Student Health Services and what's in there and how it works and where it is on campus. And so that's a great way to help inform students. And so it serves, again, it serves our needs to help fill the beds. But the other big piece of that is it's helping to prepare students to live on campus and prepare students to just be students in the college environment. And so it naturally helps students choose a university if what they see is an atmosphere of support. Because we've had students actually self-report, which has come my way where someone sends me a screenshot where they say, I chose USF because I was in the group. I chose USF because I was watching USF Housing Live. And we actually hear that from students that I heard my friend at the other school in their group, it's nasty, it's not friendly, it's not like this at all. And so it all ties into having a supportive environment, but also some production value. And so here, I'll show you a couple screenshots here from the show. And so here we go. I can share this piece. So you should be able to see that now. And so this is like, the intro actually has music. We've done our own music, and we show the different students as part of it during the opening montage. And then we have our USF Housing Live graphic all animated. And then once we come on the show, we'll have a shot on me, and we're all in full makeup. So that's me with about 5 pounds of studio makeup on under the bright tungsten lights and the backdrop that you see behind me today. And then we have our other camera that's actually on our guest. And so they're just being interviewed by me, and they're just talking with a live studio audience also present. That's the other big piece, is that we engage them in that way as well, because our first one, we didn't have the live audience and it seemed a little quiet. And so we invite students, staff, and they bring family members as well onto the set, and we have a live studio audience. And so they do the applause as we come in, and they do applause when we go to commercial break and come back, and they interact and engage and laugh along with us. And so it makes it really live and entertaining. In fact, it's been so successful that they have supported me we're adding a third camera. We've got a big boom set up in the studio here, and we're going to have a full-on panel discussion with a 3-camera shoot on Sunday, June 12th, actually. There's my shameless plug. Episode 5, June 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And so anyone's welcome to come and check it out on YouTube. But we're going to be able to have a group of students having a group conversation instead of just the one-on-one. And the big plus there is it allows for a late question for a particular guest, where that guest currently is off the air and we can't go back to them. But if we have a panel of people up there and we can switch between shots to keep it clear and exciting for everyone, then that'll work great. And so we're going to be practicing on that next week as we prepare for June 12th. And so that's going to be a big one for us, a big growth area. But the example there is it's going to be all about fraternity and sorority life. We're going to have 4 Greek councils there. They can meet the students that represent the councils. And so students can ask current students questions. And again, we get a lot of housing questions. And so I'm there with my experts. And the way it works actually is I just do it as a live event on YouTube. And then I have our social media person, Jill, over here, who gets all the questions in the chat. And then she manages them and puts people in timeout if they're not asking questions. And so we find that some students try to jump in and answer questions in the chat, and they give them wrong information. And so she helps to manage them. And then she iMessages them over to me on my iPad on the set. So I can then choose from those questions to then ask our guest. And so this approach gives us, it's great experience for our students because they're doing live broadcasting essentially, even though it's webcast, but it's live broadcast. So they're all getting that experience on their resume, and it's all student produced work. And so I'm just oversight on it, but really we try to empower the students as much as we can to develop content that will matter for students. And so there's just a quick overview of what USF Housing Live is.
That's amazing. People are asking, what is the name of the program you use to be able to put that on? And do you have a link? Where can they find it?
Okay, and so it's called Wirecast. And so I don't have the link, but if you just Google it, like everything in life, if you just Google Wirecast, there is a free version, which doesn't allow you to use, I think, more than 2 layers. But we started out with the free version, so go for it. The elements that one should consider if you're going to get into this is don't worry so much about having the best camera out there. You just need a camera that's not going to put on-screen display elements on top of your video. And so a lot of SLRs do that. And so generally you stay away from SLRs. But we started out with Canon XA10s. And we've actually added a couple Blackmagic cameras to the mix. But we found that Blackmagic is a great production camera. But with Wirecast, when you try to apply effects to brighten the color vibrance, it actually downgrades the quality, and it's just an issue with the program. And so we went back to our XA10s and discovered that we had ignored them for half of a season and realized that though they were on the cheaper end of the professional grade camera, that with good lighting and makeup and good sound, it looks really sharp. And so those screenshots I showed you were from our most recent episode, and that's 1080p. Video that we're getting, and by using tungsten lights, which you can find tungsten lights online generally on the cheap side, or LED lights that allow you to change the color temperature. You want warmer temperatures for something like this, and in an enclosed set, of course, where you're controlling the light. And so if you have really good light, that coupled with quality sound, that makes a world of difference. And then Mac makeup products is what we use for our, they have Mac Studio Foundation, it's called. And that is for television production or photography use. And so you have to make sure you're using that type of foundation because it's thick enough that the light's not going to cut through it and make you overly reflective. And so those who are fairer skinned like myself are the ones who really need a lot of makeup. And so those pieces together, though, gives you a really professional presentation. And if you elevate your production value, your message is going to be that much more powerful to the viewer because it looks sharp, it sounds sharp, and then whatever you want to discuss, they're going to be listening. The other big piece, of course, with this format is international students love this because they can't come visit campus like the domestic students can. And so many of them have never even been to campus. But we show them campus through our videos. We show them through the live stream, of course, in the group as well. But they can engage with Housing Live. And in fact, most of our viewers don't watch it live. Most watch the recording. We still get a few hundred that are generally going to watch the live broadcast. But that recording is great because they jump in there and they get answers, as I promote it, answers to all these questions they haven't yet thought to ask.
I think that's exact. You hit it right there. It's these are the questions that they don't know that they don't know.
Yes.
right? That these are things that they haven't expected, but it's that just-in-time information. And if you think about it, right, this is the YouTube generation, right? They grew up watching YouTubers in high school, and so they are really hungry for content that is the golden three, right? It's got to be relatable, it's got to be interesting or informative, or it's got to be funny, and it's going to really resonate with this audience. And I think what you're putting out there is all of those things, and then also you need to know for college, which is amazing, and obviously super great for that. We had a question about people asking, do you transition the students from their class of page that's active during orientation to liking your housing page? Do you move them? Does this extend beyond just orientation? How does that work?
Yeah, and so again, this is the online town square for them for when they first find out about the group until after they graduate. And so I know that in some institutions that are managing these, they'll have orientation handle it, but then what happens after that? Who is the caretaker? And so here we've developed a team to support them because we have a number of students that live on campus. And also we do a lot that engages students that don't live on campus. They can still attend our programs and whatnot. But what we're doing is not trying to transition them out of the group and saying, oh, make sure you're just connecting with the page. What we do is the other way around. So we will take something that we've posted on our Facebook page for the department, and we then share it in the group. And if you want a good testament to see how powerful the group is, post something on your Facebook page. If you have a group like this, see how many views you get, see what your reach is, and then take that same post a day later and share it in your class group and watch the numbers spike. And so the group is the central place for everything. That's where you connect them to Snapchat. It's where you share content from Pinterest, from Instagram, from your Facebook page. And so that is the town square. And if we can think about it as this is the place you go to announce to the world your information and engage with them, that everything else is actually on the periphery of the group. Because if you start with the student and say, where is the student going? Where is the student engaging? They go to the group and they scroll through the group. They probably don't visit your page and scroll through your page. They'll only see it if it comes up in your news feed. And those of us who have dug into this have found that now Facebook wants you to, they want to monetize. They want you to pay for a greater reach. Well, Facebook, I love you, but not enough to pay for you. And so what do? I say we have our groups where the students go on their own to engage, and I share content from the page in there. And so that really gets around worrying about paying to get your post to have greater reach, and making sure that students are still seeing that official messaging.
That's awesome. And so you mentioned too that you're pulling in content from other places. Do you create all of that content? You mentioned Snapchat. You're doing a lot of stuff with Snapchat. Is it still the same group, like class of on Snapchat as well? Like, how does that work?
Okay, yeah, we don't have a specific, we don't manage Snapchat accounts for the different groups. We also don't get involved with group me's, but students are allowed to share those in the group if they want. So we have the USF Housing Snapchat. And so the USF Housing Snapchat account, we don't put out a lot of content, mainly just because we don't have the staffing for it. We put so much time into the group and we're doing a review right now to try to do some more editorial work on developing future content. But with Snapchat, it's interesting. We actually pull a lot from Snapchat. We also have some rules about that we share with students, because in some conversations we asked how students would see our interaction with them as being appropriate on Snapchat. And the one thing that came out pretty solidly was never using Snapchat to view the students' 24-hour stories. And so we actually tell the students, we will not view your story, because if you click on your story, you can see who's viewed it. And we want to make sure the USF Housing is never there, because the students would see it as a trespass. Even though it's a public thing on Snapchat on their 24-hour story, it was made clear to us that if we were to look at their stuff in their story, they'll see it like we're somewhere we shouldn't be. And so we stay away from that, and we communicate that to the residents, that we don't see it as our role to be looking through their stories, but we encourage them to look through ours. That's fine. And anything they choose to send to us directly, that's something that might be shared in the group. And so we're upfront about that. And also just being careful that we're never sharing anything that's personal or a student wouldn't want shared.
Okay, that's awesome. So if someone wanted to do this and they were thinking about, okay, what is the time, what is the effort, what's the amount of money? resources wise, what would you recommend for them as kind of a ramp up? Can they start it tomorrow? How much money do they need to have? What would you recommend for them?
Well, when I began this, as I said, it was pretty much me on my own, and it was 7 hours a day on top of my work day, 7 days a week. I will be honest with you. I spent that much time on it. But by doing that, that sparked the engagement. Now I don't need to spend that much time because I have so many more experts who are helping. They're helping out, and I have 2 students that spend more time in there. And so my actual time spent is now more along the lines of 1 to 2 hours, maybe 3 at the high end. Probably in July, August, I'll spend around 3 a day outside of my regular work responsibilities. But from a marketing perspective, especially, that's worth it because that's developing a strong relationship with students to help prepare them from a brand perspective of how they view housing. That's a positive thing. We've actually done some satisfaction surveys and our opening survey, and the opening survey showed us that when we asked the students, what were the things that most prepared you to come live at USF? And so that number 1 piece was the website, and that number 2 was their class group. And so that was how powerful it was. We also just did a satisfaction survey of our exiting residents, and the number 1 thing that supported them while they were here was their RA, as it should be, and I was very happy that's what that was. But the number 2 thing was their class group, and that was way ahead of even the RLC staff members that lead the buildings. Now, that's nothing against the RLCs because they're managing the RAs. So we wouldn't expect all students to have a direct connection with that professional staff member. But it showed that the group was more important to them than the 24-hour desks, than phone calls, than emails, than our website. The number 1 thing was my RA. The number 2 thing was my class group. And that was great for them. And then to think about it, how much is it going to cost to staff the phones? How much is it going to cost to have an extra person managing email? Or how much is it going to cost to have someone checking in on a Facebook group and answering questions as they come up? Well, it's pretty darn cheap, and Facebook is free. And so outside of the cost to pay you for hours or pay someone else those extra hours, it's essentially free. And so starting with a Facebook group, you're going to yield significant results, and you're going to do so for almost no money.
That's amazing. And honestly, you're giving better service, right?
Yes.
Because they're not going to call on the phone, they're not going to send an email, or that you're going to give better service, and it's more cost effective for the university as well. So that's really amazing. We've only got a couple more minutes left, but is there any final thoughts, wrap ups, suggestions that you have, anything that we haven't touched on? I mean, there's so much to talk about in just an hour. We will definitely have to have follow ups, and this being our first one, a little technology glitches, so I have to apologize for that. But any other final thoughts that you can think of that about your program that we haven't already touched on, or recommendations from you or your students?
Sure. I want to be honest with everyone, because if you want to do this, make you aware of just the challenges that exist. These are still considered new approaches, and I have encountered incredible resistance from staff members here. That doesn't mean that USF has been a problem, but what that means is there are many colleagues out there who are just terrified of engaging in a group and are just terrified to have a live show where we engage students. And so I have met considerable resistance over the past 4 years of working on this. But what I find is, the reason I share it with you is, be ready for some of the upper level administrators to say, why are we doing this? This is terrible. We shouldn't do this. And the way I have handled it is I look right at them and say, that message is for a 17, 18, 19-year-old. How old are you? So you have to get those upper level administrators who might be a little freaked out by it and put it in perspective for them. The message isn't for you. The way we're communicating isn't for you. It's for a student who's just graduating high school and transitioning to college, or someone who's currently in college, and you need to meet them where they are. And you can be professional, you can be helpful and supportive and empower them, but you just want to make sure that you're considering your audience when you communicate. And by approaching it that way, it goes well.
Gregory, this is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I absolutely cannot thank you enough. This has been so eye-opening, and I'm sure that our viewers have learned so much from you today. And yeah, thank you so much to the viewers who've joined us. Thank you for coming to our first webinar for this summer. We've got a lot of great content coming for you over the summer. We're aiming to have at least a webinar a week through the summer with training. And then going into the fall, we've got some great stuff coming up. So if you're interested in these, let us know in the comments. Let us know how we did on this one, if there's anything we could have added, changed, what you want to see. If there are other platforms that you want trainings on, we will find our experts and our colleagues at universities across the country and get those answers for you, so we can all kind of support each other in this great stuff that we call social media for higher ed. So thank you so much, Greg, and thank you so much to the viewers. And it's 1 o'clock, so we're going to cut it off here, but we'll keep the conversation going. We have the Twitter handle again, hashtag SM for higher ed. Nobody else has claimed it yet, so we're going to go ahead and camp on that one. Let us know how this was, and if you liked it, let us know. Give us some likes and subscribe, and we'll see you next week for the next one. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.